If we refer back to Modernizr and we visit the documentation, you'll see there is a tutorial on working with Modernizr.load. And this is actually comes from something called YepNope, and they are asynchronous script loaders. So I don't want you to get scared by that. The basic idea is that rather than waiting for all of these scripts to load in one after the other or in parallel, we can instead load them asynchronously so that the rest of the page does not have to wait while they load. Now, not too long ago, this tool, YepNope, was integrated into Modernizr. So there are two benefits here to combining the two. One, with Modernizr.load, we get that helpful asynchronous script loading, but also it works really well with Modernizr because we can perform tests. So the way YepNope or Modernizr.load works is we specify our test. And in this case, we see here we're testing for Modernizr.geolocation. And if geolocation is supported by the browser, in that case, we're going to bring in this script called geo.js. However, if it does not support it, then we're going to bring in a polyfill. So let's take this and try it out in our own project. As we discussed in the previous lesson, for all browsers, they're having to bring in this script, and that's not ideal. So this time, I'm going to comment that out. And we're going to say Modernizr.load, and we'll pass it an object. And first, we want to perform our test. And that's going to be, does the browser support local storage? Modernizr.local storage. Now, in this case, we don't require a yep because there's nothing specific we need to do. We instead want to provide a polyfill if it does not support it. So we'll say nope, hence the term YepNope. Now, in the case that it's not supported, we're going to pull in our local storage polyfill, like so. And now what's great about this is we can remove this entire script from our page. Now it will only be loaded on the event that Modernizr.localStorage returns false, which means we're in an older browser. Now what you're going to find though, if we come back, and if I view Chrome Developer Tools and I view the console, you're going to get this error, object has no method, right here. And this is because we are using the development version of Modernizr. However, that does not have support for YepNope or Modernizr.load. So when you want to use this, you need to return to Modernizr and create your own custom build. So in this case, because we're still sort of in development mode, I'm going to toggle everything here. And now if I come to the extra section, can you see HTML5 shim is brought in as well as Modernizr.load? And that's what we need here. So let's generate that. And I'm going to copy all of that, or we can download it. And lastly, I'm going to rename this just so it's easier for me to write. Modernizr.js. Now I'm going to come back to the script and we're just going to refer to it like so. Reload the page, and now we're no longer getting that error. So cool, let's go to the elements, and I want you to take note that nowhere is localstorage.js being brought in, and that's because, of course, this browser has support for it, so we don't have to waste time bringing in that file. However, if you were to load this page in, say, Internet Explorer 6 and view the generated source, you would see it there because that browser does not support it, so we do need to bring in our polyfill. So there's one thing that's important to take note of is another way that we can use Modernizr.load is simply by passing a string, Modernizr.load, and we could pass in jQuery.js. But what you'll find is you can't simply do that and then begin working with the jQuery object like that. In fact, you're going to get an error when you do that. And the reason why this might be confusing at first, but the way YepNope works is it's asynchronous, which means it's not going to load that script immediately, but it will load it as soon as possible. And that way, it's not delaying the process of loading the rest of the page. But you do get into situations where this isn't going to work because we do not yet have access to the jQuery object. So you have two options in these cases. One, pass the yep and nope parameters. So if we change this to test and then yep, then by the time script.js is brought in, it will have access to the jQuery object. And then you can do the same thing with nope. If there's something you want to do for both of them, you can pass both. Or what you'll commonly do for smaller things is use the complete method. So complete, then pass a function, and we can say, for now, alert, do something. Let's try that out. I'm going to come back, reload the page, and we do get that alert. And this method is going to execute once all of these files have been loaded in and they can be worked with. Now, without booting up a virtual machine and switching over to Internet Explorer, let's represent that Chrome does not support local storage. So I'm going to negate this. And because we know it's true, the exclamation point is going to make it return false. And that way we can see what will happen. And in this case, we don't really require anything, but we can take our local storage comment and we can put that in there. All right, so if we did everything right, local storage.js should be brought in. When I come back, reload the page, open up the head section, and there it is. Local storage has now been brought in. If we come back and we bring it back to normal, the browser does support it, in which case this script is never loaded. And that's exactly how you use Modernizr.load.